At this time, if you would, please rise. I'm going to ask Commissioner Weisenbaker to lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful day, Lord. We thank you for the opportunity that we have to live in Lowndes County and Valdosta, and especially to be on this board, Lord, and help our county be one of the best counties in the state. We ask, Father, that you give us a spirit of cooperation tonight. You give us the wisdom and the courage to make the best possible decisions for Lowndes County and this town. In Christ's name we pray, amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Weisenbaker. Commissioners, inside your package, you'll find your minutes from the work session of August the 22nd and your regular session minutes of August the 23rd. If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections that need to be made, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move we approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 5 is our public hearing. Our first case is 5A. This is REZ 2016-16, Livingston Properties. It's located at Bemis Knights Academy Road and Merriman Court. It's a request for EA and R21 to an R10. It involves 6.25 acres. Mr. Davenport.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You have the recommendations of staff and the Planning Commission before you. I wanted to catch you up on the details behind that proposed condition from the Planning Commission last night. I don't have any changes to those updates. The only thing that I would offer is we did receive one call from a developer of an adjacent subdivision who seemed to be concerned about making sure there was enough sewer capacity in the area. Beyond that, no other updates to report. We believe it's ready for your consideration tonight.
Commissioners, do we have any questions for Mr. Davenport?
Jason, so you said they had a question about the sewer capacity. What was the answer to it?
Yes, sir. I think the adjacent developer was just concerned that if the developer for this particular case, Mr. Livingston, if they develop out at, 12 lots, making sure they have enough capacity to serve their development in the area. So I think he was concerned that, are these 12 lots going to negatively impact his future plans in the area?
Okay. So everybody was good with the condition 1 as well?
No, sir. Staff was not. Planning Commission felt like the condition had to be on there. Staff was reluctant to require it as a condition and preferred to leave it up to developer's choice. And then the particular developer also identified he was not in favor of the condition. He is here tonight. If he speaks, I think he'll be able to speak to that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll now move to the public participation portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Nathan Livingston, 1357 Teeterville Highway, Lakeland, Georgia. Been in business in Lowndes County for 25 years now, construction. We opposed to the idea that the planning committee brought forth to us to bring Merriman all the way through to Bemis Knights Academy. It's not financially feasible for us to do that. What we would like to do is take Merriman and put us a cul-de-sac at the end of it. Give the fire trucks a place to turn around, get out of there. Now it's just a dead-end road. There's no way to get them out of there. And that's about it.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Livingston?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mr. Livingston, so we don't have a layout in our packet. So you've got 9 to 10, 11, 12 lots.
We got 10 lots fronting Bemis Knights Academy. We're gonna put a cul-de-sac off of Merriman And we're gonna front that with 4 lots on the cul-de-sac, give a total of 14 lots.
Okay, all right, that helps me understand what you're doing there, yeah.
Yeah. If I understand right, then currently Merriman now dead ends into this property,
Yes, sir, just plain
just a dead end.
dead-end road.
And so there really is a concern at this point with fire trucks or emergency vehicles having some way to be able to turn around. But if you extend your road as you're proposing on into your property and create a cul-de-sac, we're actually then going to be able to create an area that fire trucks and safety vehicles would be
Right.
able to do a turnaround in that, at the end of that dead end.
Right. And I assume that if you were to consider tying into Merriman Court, it would reduce the number of lots. When you say it's not financially feasible.
Right, it'll
you mean-
reduce the number of lots and the infrastructure and all that to build that road and bring it through like that. It's not, as a developer, it's not possible for us to do that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have a question for Jason.
Question for Jason? Sure, go ahead.
So by right, what is the limit on one entrance, one way in, one way out, number of lots?
I believe, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're maxed out at 25. So Mr. Livingston, why he says add 4 lots is because I think there's already 20 lots on that cul-de-sac. So we can increase to 24. At 25, you're required to, I believe, have 2 points ingress egress.
That's correct.
So he's well within what he can rightfully do.
Right, there's 20 lots on Merriman now.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Livingston. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this request? The hearing none, we'll close the public participation portion and turn it back over to the commissioners for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request as presented and supported by staff with no conditions.
Okay, we have a motion to approve with no conditions.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. We'll now move to agenda item 5B. This case is REZ 2016-17. It's Grove Point Phase 6. This is Dasher Grove Road. It's R21, R10, and R1 to R10. It involves 124.62 acres. Mr. Davenport?
Yes, sir, thank you. Ultimately, the request here is to take a large area in Grove Point, almost half of it is already currently zoned R10, and then make it all one R10 zoning. This coincides with their future development plans. We believe it fits within our plans as well. I don't have any updates for you since the work session yesterday, and we do believe it's ready for your support tonight.
Any questions for Mr. Davenport? Okay, hearing none, we'll move into the public participation portion. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this request? Anyone that would like to speak in favor? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public participation portion and turn it back over to the commissioner for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question for Mr. Davenport. Just for clarification, even though it will be R10 zoning, it's your understanding that the lots will be somewhere between an R10 and an R21? Is that correct?
The southern section that you see on this map, that is the peach color, those lots we anticipate being larger due to the Grove Point's internal covenants and restrictions. The lots to the north that are currently zoned R10 are anticipated to be smaller.
Okay.
More R10 standard size. And so ultimately, I think they're probably minimum lot size, and the developers could address this if they wish, but I thought the minimum lot size for the section to the south is 15,000 square feet. You can see some of that lot layout in your packet under their site plan where they show you the lot lines of that new section. They are larger than the northern section.
Mr. Chairman, can we have the applicant verify that maybe, or is it too late for that?
I think it's a little bit too late for that if we've already gone through that
Okay.
portion of it. Now, I guess you could raise a specific question of the applicant. We could probably do that. You just can't speak for it, you're just speaking in behalf of the question that Mr.
Yeah.
Ornstein's gonna ask.
So even though we're moving from an R21 to an R10 zoning, it's not gonna be a 10,000 square foot
No, the
lot?
spirit of what we always had planned is what we're doing. The bottom portion of that is gonna be actually less dense than phase one, but we lost the R15 zoning, which was phase one, so we couldn't do 100 by 150 lots. So we had to get a catch-all, which is the R10, but we've got lots in there. The average is probably 19,000 square feet. We've got some 15. We range from 15,000 square feet or a third of an acre up to 2 acres in this phase. And we've done a tree survey we had to have a little variation in there to save some of the big oaks that we've got in there in our layout plan. But the spirit of what we're doing is just like phase one, but it's actually only 50 lots, so it's much less dense. We had 141 lots in phase one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Gary,
Thank you,
can we
Mr.
get your address, please?
Yes, 905 Moss Way.
So can we approve, can I ask a question? Can we approve the site plan that you've given us? Is that something we could approve, just like you got?
No, because that would be a PD.
Yeah. If it was a PD, then you would be approving the site plan, but you can't as it is, but he may still change it.
But he's on record as saying that it's a 15,000 minimum
Yeah.
square foot
The
lot.
engineering's been paid for, it's not changing.
Thank you, Mr. Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Cannon.
Any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the rezoning to R10.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the rezoning as requested. Rezoning as requested. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. We'll now move to agenda item 5C. This is the abandonment of Strong Road. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes, sir. What you have tonight before you is the official abandonment of Strong Road. Approximately 15 to 20 years ago, Strong Road was actually gated. It was determined that this road was no longer being used whenever this property was being replatted. And so to clean it up, this is the official public hearing for the abandonment of Strong Road.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Fletcher? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Yep, this is a public hearing.
Oh, hearing, I'm sorry. Yep. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this request? Anyone that would like to speak in favor? Hearing none, we'll now close the public participation portion and turn it over to the commissioners for your consideration.
Motion to abandon Strong Road.
Okay, do we need to state why we're abandoning?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Motion is to approve the resolution as presented.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion to approve the resolution as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, we'll now move to agenda item 6A. This is the 2015 CDBG Children's Advocacy Center Grant. This is located at Stafford Wright Road and Skipper Bridge Road. It involves property transaction. Mr. Davenport.
Yes, sir, thank you. Ultimately, this first of two requests is aimed at allowing the CAC to donate property to the county as a part of fulfilling the negotiations and the grant requirements associated with this CDBG grant. And so that's what we're asking for, is the commission's consideration and approval and accepting the property donation.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Davenport?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to refrain from voting on that because some of it.
Okay. May the record show that Ms. Evans is refraining from voting. Any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve and accept the property from the Children's Advocacy Center.
We have a motion to approve and accept the property from the Children Advocacy Center. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda item 6B is the 2015 CDBG Children's Advocacy Center against Stafford Wright Road and Skipper Bridge Road. This is the approval of the agreements and the documents. Mr. Davenport.
Yes, sir, thank you. The main document in this set is the lease agreement, and now that the commission has accepted the property for ownership, we are now entering into, or proposing to enter into a lease with the CAC for the maintenance and the operation of the building. With that, what this does is it sets up the next step, which is the bid and construction process. But we believe that these are necessary documents to get in place before that begins. So what we're asking for is to approve and authorize the attached lease to be signed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Davenport.
Yes, sir.
I refrain from that.
Okay. May the record show that Ms. Evans recuses herself on this issue as well.
Just for clarification, to be signed by the chairman?
That is
Or
our
any-
preference,
Or
yes, sir.
staff?
Chairman.
Chairman.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve and authorize the attached lease agreement to be signed by the chairman.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the attached documents in the agreement to be signed by the chairman. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 6C is the resolution to adopt the Lowndes County Hazard Mitigation Plan update. Mr. Ty?
Good evening. As we discussed yesterday, this is a resolution to adopt the updated hazard mitigation plan. Over the past year, we worked with all of our local community partners, stakeholders, representatives from the other local governments to develop this plan. The main reason we did this is it's required to be updated every 5 years. So, over the past 5 years, we have completed some of the steps from the previous plan, so we needed to provide us an updated list. The main reason this is so important is without an approved hazard mitigation plan, we're not eligible for any funding and federal, state or federal funding or resource support during a disaster. So it does have a supplementary benefit in addition to the fact that it's a useful tool.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Ty?
Yes, sir. So this plan, it involves everybody and all the cities. Do we have 100% participation through from all the cities?
So far, I have received resolutions from the city of Valdosta and the city of Hahira, and city of Lake Park has advised me that they have adopted theirs. So once, assuming you approve this, that will leave Dasher and Remerton. I'm not sure when they have their meetings. I will follow up with them. But we did have participation from everybody in the plan development, so everyone was included.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just had a question for Walter. Is anything within this hazardous mitigation plan update that would prevent me or you would caution me to participate in the vote for? I was involved on the city's end in regards to hazardous mitigation plan.
I would run some caution if you want to recuse, that would be fine.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure for clarification.
Yes.
That'll be fine. If you feel more comfortable with recusing yourself, I have no objection to that. Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Ty. Okay, Commissioners, I entertain a motion.
I move that we authorize the chairman to sign the resolution to adopt the update to the Lowndes County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Okay, we have a motion to authorize the chairman to sign the resolution to adopt the update to the Lowndes County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. May the record show that Mr. Marshall recused himself from the vote. Our next agenda item is agenda item 6D. This is the abandonment of the unopened right-of-way off of Pikes Pond Road. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes, sir. What you have in front of you tonight is an initial determination to abandon some right-of-way that is unopened off of Pikes Pond Road. As a part of the original subdivision, there was supposed to be a cul-de-sac. This cul-de-sac was never paved, and the owner at 4868 would like to improve her driveway, thus that's why we're here. So we'll need an initial determination tonight.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Fletcher? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we make that determination at this point.
Okay, could we be clear on it that the section of the county road system has for any reason ceased to be used by the public to the extent that no substantial public purpose is served by it, or that its removal from the county road system is otherwise in the best public interest?
Yes, sir, what you said.
We can do that. That's what I just want to be sure we can do that.
Point of clarity, your motion is that you make both.
Determination, correct.
Correct. Okay. We have that clarified. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All right. I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item
Jumping in
6E is the quit claim deed for the abandonment of right-of-way on Old Miller Concrete property. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes, sir. What you have before you is the quit claim deeds from a road abandonment that occurred in 2008. The developer is in the process of getting ready to redevelop and rehab the property, and this kind of cleans up his the area in which he will be developing and putting up fence and things like that. So this will authorize the chairman to sign the quit claim deeds.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Any questions from Mr. Fletcher? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we authorize the chairman to sign the quitclaim deed.
We have a motion to authorize the chairman to sign the quitclaim deed. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 6F is the Section 5311 Rural Transportation Program, the capital contract. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes, sir. This is the 5311 Rural Transportation Contract, and what we're looking for is the approval and execution of this contract to purchase 3 conversion vans with lifts and 1 computer.
Okay. Commissioners, do we have any questions for Mr. Fletcher? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve and adopt the contract for the replacement of the conversion vans and the computer in the 5311 Rural Transportation Program.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and adopt the contract for the replacement of the conversion vans and the computer in the 5311 Rural Transportation Program. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 6G is the surveying and engineering services for the Old Whitman Road Bridge replacement. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes, sir. Lowndes County has asked for a engineering and surveying proposal for Lovell Engineering Associates for the replacement of the Old Whitman Road Bridge. This will actually kick off this Friday as we have a meeting with CSX in Atlanta to begin the preliminary engineering process. So this is the contract for Lovell for surveying and engineering for this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Do we have any questions from Mr. Fletcher?
I just had one, Mike. I know we have a list of bridges that we have the estimates for already. I guess when we have an estimate and several years later, is this somewhat like a re-estimate, or the one that from the previous estimates is in-house engineering estimate?
I'm not following you, but I'm gonna try to answer you the best I can. Right now, we're estimating that this structure is gonna cost somewhere around $1 million to $1.2 million to replace. Because right now, the bridge is sitting at a 37-degree skew, which would run, if you see the old bridge on the screen in front of you, it's on a 37-degree skew. That will lengthen the bridge and run the price up to probably between $2 and $3 million, closer to $3 million, if you replace the bridge as it sits right now today. But what we're planning on doing is realigning the old Quitman Road and putting in a 100-foot bridge that is a modular free-span bridge that will lengthen the amount of bridge, and thus we're looking at somewhere around $1 million to $1.2 million to put this in.
Okay, I basically, I just know the splash lists we have all those bridges on there, and I see the amounts that we already have an estimate for.
That
I
was,
just
that
trying
was
to-
an original estimate to replace the bridge.
Original in-house estimate,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Fletcher?
Mr. Fletcher, does those cost estimates that you're talking about for the bridge, doing it at perpendicular to the tracks,
Yes, sir.
does that include land acquisition and redesign of the road and everything?
We have worked with the adjacent property owners, and they're going to work with us on donation of the right-of-way, so there won't be any right-of-way acquisition. Yes, it does include the realignment of the road.
Good.
And so, Mike, at best scenario, what type of time limit are we looking at?
This is entirely up to how fast the railroad works. And if we had that crystal ball, then we'd all be a lot smarter. We're hoping that, when I talked to the railroad, I told them that we would like to be under construction next summer. And they said that they did not see an issue with having it permitted by then.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Lovell Engineering for surveying and engineering services for the Old Quitman Road Bridge Replacement Project.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the Lovell Engineering for surveying and engineering services for the Old Quitman Road Bridge Replacement Project. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. We now move to agenda item 6H. This is the surveying and engineering services for Jumping Gully Road Bridge replacement. Mr. Fletcher.
Yes, sir. This is also for a bridge replacement that we're planning on doing next year. But this is for the Jumping Gully Road Bridge, which has numerous times gone underwater due to backwater flooding. EMC Engineering will be doing surveying and engineering to determine the exact elevation that we will need to raise the bridge to. And so this is a little bit different than what we have done in the past, where we have done design builds. This bridge, we're going to have to actually set a new grade for the structure. So that's why we're having to design it and engineer it ahead of time.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Do we have any questions for Mr. Fletcher? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve EMC Engineering for the survey and engineering services for the Jumping Gully Bridge.
We have a motion to approve EMC Engineering for the surveying and engineering services for the Jumping Gully Road Bridge replacement project. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. We'll now move to agenda item 6I. This is the high enforcement of aggressive traffic, otherwise known as HEAT. And who is going to present it? Mike or Joe?
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
I guess y'all have already seen the, I guess this is for the project, the HEAT grant for the renewal for the following year. believe Mike had already presented it at work session yesterday.
That's correct. Commissioners, we have any questions for Chief Crow?
What, Chief Crow, do you know what the percentages, the percentages of the, heat grant, when we originally did this grant back a year ago, it was supposed to be 100% the first year, and then cut back the second year and third year. Do you know those percentages of what it's gonna pay this year?
I believe it is going to be 100% this year. So, and depending on the numbers, of course, I think our traffic counts will be up as well in the following year. We're not doing too good in Lowndes County on fatalities right now, so you could potentially have 100% funding in that third year as well.
So if the fatality numbers go down, then the percentage of grant.
Yeah,
that's
if you're
awarded also
successful,
goes
they
down.
give you less money.
Yeah, right. Okay. Any other questions?
I think I just would like to say that, it was my impression, Joe, when we started this, that, we were concerned about those numbers. We were concerned about, what the grant was going to do in year 2 and 3. I don't know that was completely clear then. I mean, I think we want to support this program. We want to see the fatality numbers go down. I mean, although I think that in itself is a huge challenge with texting and driving and all
Sure.
that, the deputies are faced with, and the possibility of accidents related to that. My concern, and I can't speak for anybody else, but my concern is that I just don't want the county to get, or the sheriff's office to get hooked into, and let me back up and say, I understand the intent of the grant. I understand that, it's more or less seed money. Let's get it started. Let's see how it does. But I mean, I think what the governor's office is asking is that we guarantee them, and this is where my question comes in, that we guarantee them that we're gonna fund this after the 3 years is up. If the numbers are high and we're not
Sure.
proven effective, I mean, not that I'm not confident that we can, but, I'm just concerned personally about putting us, the county and the sheriff's office, on the hook to continue to fund something that may not be successful in 3 years.
Sure.
So the question goes to, what language are they gonna accept? And I see that we've got something that was, I guess, as late as this afternoon. So I mean, you see where I'm coming
Sure,
from? I mean,
I
do you
do.
have any?
Well, even under the new grant policy there, I think we leave ourselves that room, obviously at the end of any grant period, regardless of the amount of funding, it needs to be evaluated for sustainability. And I do believe that by that year 3, even if we don't apply for that grant again and it doesn't fund anything, that those positions and what equipment is there will be absorbed into a program we already have, as well as, we have an openings pretty regular. With the state getting 20% raises, there could be a whole lot more openings with state patrol, state law enforcement. So I feel very comfortable that in 3 years, or 2 years from now, rather, that we would be able to absorb those positions if necessary. We already have, part of our traffic program, the speed unit that was funded partially by the Governor's Office of Highway Safety a couple of years ago. And those positions are traffic units as well. So,
In your opinion, professional opinion, do you see that the HEAT program, the grant itself, and what it's been able to fund and how it's been able to be put into operation, are you seeing that it will be benefiting? Or from the standpoint of what the work that's being done now,
yes,
the success of it,
yes, sir.
you're confident that the success will be there?
Yes, sir. And I think that, excuse me, that, again, I think our traffic count's going to continue to grow as our developments continue, particularly in some of these side roads, county roads, that kind of thing. Interstate traffic's going to continue to increase. So our traffic enforcement, highway safety, that's what's important. And I think that is going to continue to be an issue and a problem. And I think that not only through this grant, but also through our highway safety programs that we have with Lieutenant Adams. And what the sheriff's looking at, of course, is the fact that it's going to continue to be self-sustaining to that extent, I think.
Joe, I noticed in the proposed language change, it said about education. Which schools do your HEAP officers or deputies give classes or presentations? Is it all county schools or?
Yes, they do. They have the Governor's Office of Highway Safety has a lot of different kind of campaign materials regarding texting and driving. Is that what you're referring to as the type of classes and public stuff that our officers give to students?
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay. So throughout the year, there's different campaigns, and particularly back to school, student driving, DUI, those kinds of things. Those are the kind of classes that they will go to and speak at anytime they're called upon in public meetings and that kind of thing to give a presentation about highway safety in Lowndes County.
Chief, I think that probably one thing that would probably help if we're successful in moving this forward is that if you're the sheriff's department and certainly your area of expertise could provide the commissioners quarterly maybe on some updates as far as what this is actually doing and the benefits that you're seeing, and hopefully if we have some adjustments in those fatality numbers that we'll be able to see those as well. But certainly any aspect from the standpoint of statistics or data that you can provide
Sure.
to kind of help us understand what the benefits are, because there will come a time that we will have to make a decision about whether we move forward with it or not. So I think that that's extremely important.
Sure. I think that's easily something that we can also incorporate with our social media as well,
Okay.
is those numbers. I know DOT releases numbers weekly, I believe, or daily. They have an actual fatality report for the state of Georgia. I hope we don't have daily fatalities in Lowndes County, but we certainly have traffic accidents and those high activity areas that we can certainly incorporate as well. But these are regular quarterly and monthly reports that have to be produced according to the grant anyway. So be glad to kick them over to you.
Well, good. I mean, I don't want to put a burden on the sheriff's department, but even, I mean, I said quarterly, but if it's something that's available and you could do it monthly, then certainly we'd appreciate it and have it to be as we move forward.
Sure. Just one more email address.
Okay. Any other questions for Chief Crow? Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve for continuation of the High Enforcement of Aggressive Traffic Team grant.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the continuation of the High Enforcement Aggressive Traffic, or HEAT, team for the grant. As far as, do we need to adopt that wording that we were looking at also, or is that just going to be written in on the grant? Adopt that. You have some wording as far as how the end of that, the last sentence should be in that grant. Would you please read that?
Lowndes County is proud of the work the HEAT unit achieves and the community education it provides. We would like to see these efforts continue. Should the grant no longer be available, the county would work to preserve as much of the program as possible given budget priorities and constraints.
Okay. And that's included in your motion?
That's
Is
correct.
that correct?
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. There's one more. Do you have the email that was given to you?
the county would seek to identify strategy to maintain the program when federal funds are no longer available.
Okay. Let's be clear. I'll ask one more time, if you would, to repeat your motion.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move for the continuance of the heat grant in stating Lowndes County is proud to work the heat unit achieves and the community education it provides. We would like to see these efforts continued. Should the grant no longer be available, the county will seek to identify strategies to maintain the program when federal funds are no longer available.
Okay? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? The hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. We'll now move to agenda item 7A. This is the bid for firefighters' personal protective equipment. Ms. Blank?
Yes, sir. As we discussed yesterday, we solicited bids from qualified vendors for personal protective equipment for firefighters. A recent inspection showed that a large majority of our inventory needed to be replaced. The bid is structured so that you can split between vendors with the exception of turnout coats and pants so that they're match sets. It also allows the prices to remain in effect for 1 year with the option to renew for 3 additional years. You'll see on the attached sheet the bid tabulations. And NA indicates that the vendor either did not bid or did not meet specifications. You'll see the highlighted boxes, which are the recommended awards, and then you'll see over to the right the quantities that are currently needed and the extended prices for those.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Black?
I just had one, and probably Mr. Tye will know. What's the life cycle of these uniforms or what have you?
10 years.
10 years? Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Award the bid as indicated to 10-8 fire equipment in the amount of $87,074.80, and to Fisher Scientific, which is Morning Pride, in the amount of $25,499.75, and to authorize the chairman to sign the agreements.
Do we have a motion to award the bid items as indicated to 10-8 fire equipment in the amount of $87,074.80, and to Fisher Scientific Morning Pride in the amount of $25,499.75, and to authorize the chairman to sign the agreements? We have a second.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 7B is the Snake Nation Road Culvert Emergency Repairs. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes, sir. What you have before you is the Snake Nation Road culvert repairs. This is as a result of the recent hurricane that's caused the box culvert to shift and has cracked completely through. This will be to replace the full box culvert, and our recommendation is to hire Dunman Construction, $168,928.
Any questions from Mr. Fletcher?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The difference between a box culvert and an arch culvert, I mean, I think it's probably pretty obvious, but there's a cost difference that, I mean, does the arch culvert have any benefit over the box culvert? It's just the design,
It's just a design, it's prefabbed, and it comes in here on a truck, but it has to be built somewhere else and be brought in here. It's a 5 to 6 week time frame to be built, to be brought in here, and then about a 2-week assembly on site. Really, the only time that an arch culvert that you'd really recommend an arch culvert is if you was in a real heavy rain season. Dunman is saying, 4 to 6 weeks. So, I mean, he's probably going to have this built and the road back open before we would ever get a arch culvert delivered.
So the box culvert's gonna be framed and poured in place?
Framed and poured in place,
How long?
4 to 6 weeks.
So that explains why the other ones are double, basically. They've done them here, and they're gonna be able to do it here without having to travel to Albany.
I'm sorry.
I noticed the other bidders, Southern Concrete and all them were coming out of Albany,
Yes, sir.
and that's why they number was that much. It was over double. Yeah.
They bid on the same project. So we bid on,
They might be busy.
They busy.
I know the Scruggs didn't bid and different others, but I was, okay.
Any other questions? Okay, Commissioners, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we accept the bid proposal from Dunman Construction for the box culvert in the amount of $168,928.
Do we have a motion to accept the Dunman Construction box culvert bid for $168,928?
yes, sir, that was right.
That's correct. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item H, County Manager's Report. Mr. Pritchard.
We have a report yesterday, Mr. Chairman, so there's no additional report today.
Thank you, sir. Any citizens wishing to be heard, we have one, Mr. Richard Lee. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Richard Lee, 5921 Bird Hall Road, Hyra. And I thought y'all was playing with me a little bit there from the agenda. The only real question I had is, my understanding was that box culvert, which is what's in there now, was going to take, considerably longer because of the process of repouring it and curing it and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to a temporary short span prefab bridge. But I'm hearing from engineering that we're still talking about 4 to 6 weeks. Is that correct?
Yes, 4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks with the box culvert and about 4 weeks with a bridge.
Okay. 2 more weeks. I'm cool. We've got 150 or so people out there. I passed a line of 20 cars on Shiloh as I was coming in on the detour, which at my particular location adds an additional 10 miles round trip to our trip. So we're doubling our round trip. It's normally 10 from where I live. So we're now driving 20 miles, and we're not the only people. There's a little colony of folks out there in Snake Nation and others that are seriously inconvenienced. I understand this process. I know it takes time. And I want to, first of all, thank y'all for expediting this. I know normally there's a time process used for bidding and so forth, and that takes a lot of time itself. So I appreciate y'all's immediate consideration and move of action on this. I want to thank Ashley Tyre also for his efforts with a trailer park in our neighborhood out there that is long overdue to be done away with. And if there's any action y'all have to do to help him with that, if the people that have that don't do what they're supposed to do, we would greatly appreciate that also. So thank you very much. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Commissioner, have any other business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.